You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Michael Johnson Jr. is out. He is entering the transfer portal, but there was kind of a little precursor to this, which occurred yesterday, Sunday, April 13th, to be exact. 24/7 sports reporter Bryce Kuhn reported that Syracuse is getting a visit, which is occurring today on April 14th, from Georgia State quarterback Zach Gibson, and that might be the reason why Michael Johnson Jr. is ultimately entering the transfer portal, or the two are just going hand in hand. But regardless, let's talk about Zach Gibson, and if he were to commit to Syracuse, what he would bring to the Orange. About Zach Gibson, well, he is 6'3", 210 pounds. He has one more year of college eligibility remaining, and he's actually been in college since 2019, and he has been with 3 different schools. He started his career at Akron from 2019 to 2021, and at Akron, he played in 17 games. He threw for about 2,500 total yards, 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and 61% completion percentage. Not bad over at Akron. Following his time at Akron, he then goes to Georgia Tech, and in 2022, he plays in 6 games as a backup quarterback, and he doesn't play at all in 2023, so then he transfers to Georgia State in 2024, where he plays in 7 games, throws for about 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 68% completion percentage. Is this a big deal, medium deal, or minor deal? I want to hear from you first in the comments section below. What are your thoughts on Zach Gibson visiting Syracuse, the quarterback from Georgia State? And do you think that Syracuse needs to add another quarterback in the transfer portal? Comment your thoughts in the comments section below. Now, honestly, in my opinion, this would be a minor addition to Syracuse's quarterback room in terms of his actual ability. I don't think Zach Gibson would come here and threaten Rickie Collins' starting job, and I don't think he would come here to be the backup quarterback either to Rickie Collins. I think it's still going to be Jakhari Williams, and even if he somehow is the backup quarterback, there's no reason why he would block the young quarterbacks from playing. If the young quarterbacks are not good enough to beat him out, I don't know what to tell you. All right, so this would just be, I think, a minor move in terms of ability getting Zach Gibson. So why would Syracuse have interest in Zach Gibson? I mean, they have Rickie Collins as the starter. They have Jakhari Williams as the presumed backup. They have multiple true freshmen coming in. They have another quarterback commit already in the class of 2026. Why are they interested in Zach Gibson? Well, my guess is the experience that he would provide, which I alluded to with Michael Johnson Jr. Even though he hadn't thrown a lot of collegiate passes, he's been in college forever, and he was the backup quarterback for Syracuse a year ago. So he's been in the room as well and got to learn from Kyle McCord. Take that for what it's worth. Now he's gone. So you probably need a quarterback in there with experience. And when you look at Syracuse's quarterback room, Rickie Collins, the starter, has only thrown 7 career collegiate passes. Then you go down the depth chart and you look at Jakhari Williams and Luke Carney and Rich Bellin. They've thrown 0 collegiate passes. Their only experience is in the Syracuse spring game. That's it. So it makes sense why Syracuse would have interest in a guy like Zach Gibson from Georgia State, because he's also been in the ACC. He was at Georgia Tech for a couple of years. But he has thrown 625 passes in his collegiate career. So he could potentially be a mentor for Syracuse football's quarterback room. However, I think this is going to be quite tricky to get Gibson to ultimately commit here. And here's why, all right? Don't get me wrong. If he ends up committing to Syracuse, I would not be surprised, and I would be happy if he commits to Syracuse. But if he doesn't commit to Syracuse and say he goes to maybe a smaller school, it'll likely be because that smaller school can offer him more playing time. Again, he presumably only has one more year of eligibility remaining. And ideally, he'd probably want to play in that final year of eligibility. While at Syracuse, is he really going to get a lot of playing time? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so, to be honest with you. Would he be the backup quarterback? Probably not. He's probably the third string if he were to come to Syracuse. There's probably a low-level school out there that would give him at least a backup job, if not a starting job. And he's an athlete. He probably wants to play. So if they don't get him, Zach Gibson from Georgia State, don't come at me with all the pitchfork, or not at me, but don't come at Syracuse football with all the pitchforks saying, how could we not get this guy? This is insane. It's probably because he wants to play. I think a year ago, Syracuse was going after a quarterback from Pitt, I forgot his name, a backup quarterback from Pitt. I thought they might get him, but then they didn't. I think they actually lost out on him to Georgia State, of all schools. Why? Because Georgia State could offer him more opportunity, and Syracuse already had Kyle McCord. So whether he commits or not, I would not be surprised, but that's the latest with Syracuse's quarterback room.